Back with another one, and this one is Thursdays and Every Other Sunday Off by Vertamae Smart-Grosvenor. I'm gonna try to read part one, the whole part one. Before you ask, I'll tell you why I chose the title Thursdays and Every Other Sunday Off, because that's what they used to give you. Thursdays and every other Sunday will be your days off. With these words, for years, many of our mothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, and friends entered domestic life. Either you did days work and got $5 in car fare, or you slept in and had Thursdays and every other Sunday off. My mother did days work and, because of me, never took no sleep in jobs, but other people in my family have. And it's not over yet. I got a cousin who is working on her master's at the University of South Carolina, and she works every summer for a family in Connecticut. They don't even know that she's been to college. They love her because she is so intelligent and takes all the phone messages properly. She says that she hopes this summer will be her last. I hope to God I won't never have to lay eyes on them buckers again. Ever notice a weird thing about days work? It's always the other side of town, suburbia or the hills. Don't nobody be working down the block. Across the country, there are bus stops and train routes that transport people going to serve it. On the number 44 bus in Philadelphia, or the Shaker Rapid in Cleveland, the Bexley or Upper Arlington bus in Columbus, or the Penn Central in New York, it's the domestic line. I rode the Penn Central into Westchester, and I was moved and mad. At 125th Street, nothing but sisters got on. Going to work for Miss Ann, riding a domestic train. I sometimes wonder if that 125th Street was put on just to accommodate Miss Ann. I heard the sisters talking on the train. That hussy want me to work late today. She meeting a friend for a late lunch. She meeting some man in a motel because I heard her making the arrangements. When I was in the den, he come in and put his hand on my behind telling me, "You gaining weight." That brat of hers is the one on that commercial. They made plenty money off that stupid kid. No, he don't know she drinks. She had the bottles in an empty Kotex box and he too shy to look in there. White women is tricky. Mine don't know she drink either. She start drinking soon as he leave. By lunch, she is drunk as a sailor in port after 3 months on sea. That new baby don't look nothing like him. Asked me could I work next week when that Bloomstein kid gets bar mitzvah. I told her no. Ask Pearl Sanders. Shoot, I can't stand working them parties. A room full of white folks make me nervous. She used to get beautiful clothes. Now she gets so she want to sell them to me. I told her there was plenty thrift stores in my neighborhood if and when I get ready to buy secondhand clothes. It just didn't seem right. A blouse that I had been washing and ironing for years, I got to wind up paying for. White people must think we ain't got no sense. I keep telling her I'm going to leave because my son need me to take care of his children, and she keeps saying, "Oh, please wait until I find someone to replace you. I can't manage with no help." Shit, this week's my last. She will manage the way she managed before I got there. The city's changed, the bus line is different, the train runs on another track, but the scene is the same. Every day in America, South Africa, and other places in the world like them. Black people, my people, traveling. To be cooks, janitors, housekeepers, porters, days workers, servants, black boys, beige girls, brown daddies, ebony mothers. Ebony Mothers. This is a poem she included by S.E. Anderson. 1. The mighty hawk whipped their long dark coats into a regal cloud above them, high above the hot junkies and nodding trick sisters, searching for some hollow frozen revenge. The sun sparkled from their shining ebony faces, reflecting a more glorious future as the Penn Central squeezed into 125, sucking them up to plain white plains, where funny little snowgirls dream of suntans and mantans. The white rhythm of the train forced ebony mothers to talk of Miss Ann's latest stupidities, but for all the sisters this day was their last, as all the other days. The Ajax and Joy tried for the millionth time to bleach their ebony hands as the Mrs. House burst black clean. Like the syncopated moves of Tina Turner, they all struck a match at noon. Like a chorus of 1,000 Ninas, they all moaned into the phone, "Fire, fire everywhere, the house is burning down." Like 1,000 Aunt Jemimas, they all ran close to hug Miss Ann, holding her tight, crying, watching our burning house. Like 1,000 Beulahs, they drew close. They drew their hat pins. They drew death blood from the screaming Miss Anns from all over white plains. With shopping bags packed with more than the usual goodies, our ebony mothers boarded Old Penn Central with smiles, dying to tell of the fires in their hearts, of the fires in their Miss Ann's home. 2. Their children waited for a tired, bent mother to return. What would they say when moms comes home more relaxed than ever? What will Park Ave and 125 do in the morning sunrise when there ain't no ebony mothers going north? What will Mr. Ann do when he returns home to ashes, blood, and the silent screaming face of Miss Ann? What will the snow brats do with no TV? What will you do to make the revolution come? Ebony Mother's eyes are upon you. What's a domestic? The dictionary says a hired household servant. A servant is defined as a person being a servant is defined as being a person employed in domestic duties. New York Times, October 15, 1970. The domestic household worker was described yesterday as the most exploited woman in America, because she is ineligible for protection of the minimum wage laws, has no health insurance or job security, and often receives less than $60 for a 60-hour work week. Of the 1.5 million domestics, 82% had cash incomes of less than $2,000 a year, and 57% less than $1,000, according to the United States Labor Department study. Hundreds of thousands of them are head of households with families who rely on them. Housework would never be lucrative, but it should be decently paid and secure. A woman who said she had been lured to New York from her family's farm in North Carolina by an advertisement that promised $50 a week with your own room and TV. The woman, Mrs. Patricia Jones, a 30-year-old teacher's aide at Public School 225 in Brooklyn, said, I was making only $20 a week at the time, so of course I jumped at the opportunity. Although Mrs. Jones' experience occurred in 1958, she returned to the same agency this summer of 1970, looking for work. She said, and encountered the same situation. Nothing had changed. The employment agency sent her a bus ticket, she said, and within 2 weeks she was sitting in the New York office where well-married white women were walking up and down looking at all of us trying to choose. It was like a slave market, and they said things like, she can't speak proper English. I don't want her around my children. And she's too dirty. I don't want her in my home. She said she got a live-in job for $30 a week, 6 days a week, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., caring for a 14-room house and 2 children. Not knowing any better, Mrs. Jones said, and being used to the slave labor practices of the South, I assumed that the way the domestics were being traded and abused was a normal part of getting a job. The same day I saw that piece in the paper, I was walking on Fifth Avenue. I saw a white man cleaning a building. The dude was wiping doorknobs, cleaning windows, sweeping, etc. The friend I was walking with said, see that white man doing menial work? Well, 10 times out of 12 is not considered menial. Don't nobody call him the janitor, and I bet you he makes some good bucks, liability plus seniority, Social Security insurance, and all the other benefits. Plus, he's got a title. He's called Director of Property Maintenance, housekeeping department. Home technicians usually mean white, benefits, and good pay. Domestic usually means colored, low, and no benefits. It's all in the name. Who wants to sleep in your house and be called on 24 hours a day? Because that's what sleeping in is all about. When the WFs, and WF stand for white folks, when the WFs hire you, sure, you have your own room, TV, and your Thursdays and every other Sunday off. But after you finish cooking and serving the dinner, washing the dinner dishes, and putting the kids to bed, you're too tired to hardly think about getting a train or bus into town. You can't go out to the cocktail lounge for a drink. Did you ever see a domestic hanging out in the evening in your local cocktail lounge? A friend of mine who has a one-woman show of poetry readings told me that she once did a show in Great Neck, New York for domestics who worked out there. It was sponsored by a group of Great Neck employers who wanted to bring colored culture to their girls rather than have the girls go into wicked Harlem and look for it. Serving and slaving is pretty much the same cross country. Give a bit more here and take a lot more there. East, West, Midwest, it really is not about the locale, it's about how you're treated. Always waiting on other people and taking care of their babies for a little money and no respect ain't no play pretty. I don't want to hear about how much money they make. They don't make enough to stay home and wipe the snot from their own children's nose. They don't make enough to have a woman come in while they go to work. I want to ask this question. Whether you sleep in, do days work, or semi-weekly domestic work, is there enough money to rent a slave? Because that's what it is. How much do it cost to get someone to how much does it cost to get someone in to wash your stinking drawers, rock your crying baby, and take your orders? Is there enough money to send for a girl from the South or the islands or, as of late, South America to keep house for you? Mind your overindulged brat while you go to women's lib meetings? Tell me. Take a girl out of her culture, have her work for you with no way out, no future except to be one of your family by feeling, not marriage. And if she goes, get another darky to replace her? Is there enough money for that? How much do that cost? $30 a week? $10 a day? $1.50 an hour? 75 cents an hour? They rung my bell to ask me could I recommend a maid. I said, yes, your mama. Langston Hughes. Housework has always been the thing. When I was a little girl, I never knew that black women could have any other job except in showbiz. One day in grammar school, we had a black substitute teacher and the class was disrupted. I went to school in Philadelphia, Francisville section, the Lydia Doris Elementary School. At that time, the principal, the nurse, the teachers were all white. The school's student body was integrated, about 60% white and 40% black. Oddly enough, we used to sing the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson every morning after the Lord's Prayer and Oh Say Can You See. Anyhow, most of us were the sons and daughters of women in service doing day's work or whatever name you want to call it, but most of our mothers were working in WF's homes. Some of the younger teachers in the school were newly married and their husbands were doing graduate work and they were living off their teacher's salary, couldn't afford a regular woman to clean, so they used the older girls in the schools on Saturday. I worked for a teacher regularly on Saturdays for a few months until my father found out. I was in the fifth grade. She lived in West Philadelphia in a 3-room apartment. I thought it was a high class apartment building and a fabulous apartment. Looking back, it was a lower middle class building in the University of Pennsylvania area. The apartment itself was quite ordinary, but at the time, to me, it was great to be able to turn on hot and cold running water, clean the pretty bathroom, vacuum the carpet, cheap, and eat anything in the refrigerator because we had an ice box. I had to take a trolley car and bus to get to her house, and she would usually drive me home. I worked from 9 to about 1 p.m. for 50 cents an hour. If she went out shopping, I'd read the magazines and look at the books. My mother made me take a bath, put on clean underwear in case something happened on the way and I had to go to the hospital. And she would plait my hair on Friday nights and I'd sleep with a stocking cap so it would be nice because I was working for a teacher. Some of the other girls in the school worked too. We would compare notes and talk about how whose house was and what they ate and how much we were getting. We all lied about the money part. I said I was getting 75 cents an hour and didn't have to do nothing but vacuum the floor, wax the kitchen, and dust the furniture with the feather duster and eat anything I wanted. We told lies about whose employer had the most and prettiest clothes. I guess we felt that the higher class the employer, the better we were. Employees always do that. Have you noticed that salespeople in high class department stores are snobs? I felt bad one time. I went to Bendel's to buy some shoes, and the woman looked at my feet, checking out the shoes I was wearing, and asked my size, 10. Took a third of a minute to tell me that she didn't have any style of any shoe in showbiz my size. I felt awful. It had taken me all morning to dress right and a great deal of courage to even venture inside of Bendel's. So I said fuck it to myself and went to Klein's, found some leather bottoms and man-made upper shoes for $6.99. When I get rich and famous, I think I'm going to get me a maid to wash dishes in the bathtub. I love cooking, but I don't like washing dishes. And as far as the bathtub is concerned, it is a drag to bend down and try to get it clean. I've never lived anywhere with a show enough clean A1 bathroom. The tubs have always had permanent rings. Ajax, Von Ami, Clorox, Mex could not wash them away. In one place, the tub was so dingy I felt dirty when I got out of the tub. It was very depressing. I got some epoxy paint and painted it a bright sun yellow. It was beautiful while it lasted. But the sun set and it was as ugly as ever. For once, I want to live in a place with a bathroom that is first class. As a matter of fact, I ain't never lived in a house that wasn't halfway deteriorated. I'm tired of moving in, painting, scraping paint off the floors and walls, building bookshelves on the walls that were warped, hanging pictures and paintings over cracks. One morning, my daughter Callie stepped out of the bathroom and the ceiling fell. I called the landlord after I hugged my child and said, listen, I told you that the bathroom ceiling was leaking. The people on the second and third floor told you. For the past 18 months, all that water has been settling. And this morning at 7:10, the motherfucker fell and cracked the toilet, knocked the sink down, put a hole in the floor. Do you know what it would have done to my child? He said, Hold on, don't get upset. I'll send the boy over this afternoon. The boy is a black man about 30. I paid the dues required to rough it. I've seen that I can move into a dump and creatively make it into a livable place. Now let's see how I would do if I could start with straight, clean walls. Would all my soul go down the gutter if I had a decent bathroom? I want to find out because I'm fed up with all of this. When I move this time, I am changing up. Never more will I go to the liquor store to get boxes to move. I'm going to get the Acme Moving Company to pack my books, pictures, and paintings. I want the Acme Moving Company because it's in all the movies, books, etc. Acme is always the company. I'll pack my own clothes. Ain't too many of them going either. And I'm walking out. I'm walking out into the sunshine. And when I move in my new apartment, I'm going to get me a white cleaning lady. That may seem strange to some of y'all, but after all the years my mama spent on her knees, it will make me sick to have anyone in her image cleaning my house.